Okay, we did get a bit carried away, didn't we?
Admittedly.
Yeah, so we will be racing UK national champs as well, which I still feel is a ridiculous idea and probably way out of our depth. But there you go. It will be fun. So you may see one of us with the GB sleeve, but probably not.
I'm pretty scared of national champs.
On paper, I think it should be a more balanced feel, like front to rear grip should be more balanced. That's going to mess with your head, Johnny, isn't it?
Keep me up at night.
Like, I'm not riding that feature. Like that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter to me what other people think about that. But even at 44, I still sometimes get dragged into that one. The past, do you reckon you could cling on to an elite level downhill these days?
At least I can try for a couple of corners.
All right, welcome to something a little bit different. The first episode of what I think I'm going to call Downtime Goes Downhill. I'm kind of hoping that isn't the point at which the podcast actually does start going downhill, but given the guys I've got involved in it, anything could happen. So I'm here today with Jonathan Matthews and Ben Thompson, who you might remember from our episodes where we did some canyon testing and some Santa Cruz testing. So they're podcast veterans now, eh, boys?
Yeah, long-standing, suffering friend.
It's only taken us, 29 minutes to get everything set up and get Ben to be able to hear us. So it's going well so far.
You've had to throw video into the mix as well now, so it just makes things even more complicated.
I know, 2023, mate. It's hard work. Before we get into this, I guess we should kind of introduce how we know each other, because we haven't done that before, I don't think. So, Johnny, we were at uni together and we're housemates. Yep. Ben, how do we know you?
We had a mutual friend at university. Hello, Hendrix. And I spent a lot of time hanging out with him in Nottingham, where you were, and it just flourished from there, I suppose. And we're all still mates now, 20 whatever years later.
So let's start with what is Downtime Goes Downhill. So the aim is to give everyone out there a bit of insight into what it's actually like to go and race downhill. We talk to all these pro athletes, we hear from them, but that's their job. They know exactly what they're doing, but there's plenty of us at a more amateur level that race. And hopefully it's going to convince some of you that maybe have thought about downhill racing, maybe haven't quite made that leap to go and give it a go. If you do go downhill racing already, hopefully it's going to give you something to kind of listen to, a bit of insight into us. And we're also going to try and provide a lot of insight and information to help you get better on the bike and how we go about getting better. And getting into downhill racing will hopefully give you some kind of insight and some thoughts. And I guess a little bit of it is to show that mid-40s isn't too late to have a go at downhill racing. And the response to my EWS efforts last year is kind of what was behind all of this, I suppose. Like I was kind of quiet about it for a while because I wasn't sure if I was going to be fit enough to do the EWS, but we got there in the end. And when I started talking about it, people reached out. So many of you wanted to know like how I was doing it, how it was, what it was like as an experience, how it went. So I thought it'd be cool to do something like that, but on a bigger scale. And I thought it'd be cool to do it for downhill racing because it's a big focus of the podcast. It's something we talk about a lot, but it's something I haven't done really for a long time. So yeah, the idea is we'll race the first round of the Pierce series here in the UK. See how we get on. We'll spend the summer looking at how we can do better and learning from some experts in the field, and we'll create some episodes around that. And then we'll go again at the final round of the Pierce series in September and hopefully do a little bit better. So yeah, let's start finding out a bit more.
There's another race in there.
Go on.
There's another race in there.
Well, yeah, we did get a bit carried away, didn't we?
Admittedly.
Yeah, so we will be racing UK national champs as well, which I still feel is a ridiculous idea and probably way out of our depth. But there you go. It will be fun. So you may see one of us with the GB sleeve, but probably not. So yeah, let's find out a little bit more about the three of us, I guess. Johnny, start with you. You've got a fair racing pedigree, right, from back in the day?
Yeah, so I started racing probably, I think it was 94, which I guess feels like a really long time ago now. I know. And, you know, the bug bit, I'd always been on a bike to some level. And then, you know, I think I've got an MB UK magazine and, you know, started leafing through that, and then there was racing, racing in the back, and I always fancied to go. And the first race I did was a 4-man quad descender at a place called Rivington Pike in the Pennines, and it was this brutal rocky track. And I rocked up, and there was Steve Peat was there, Will Longdon was there, all these big UK names, and I was completely out of my depth, but it was enough to want to do it more. And then from there, kind of progressed through the junior ranks, and then into what was then senior, and then managed to do well enough in senior to get promoted to elite, and then spent a year and a bit in the elite category before deciding to move on to other things.
So how was it getting support back then? Because the sport was like in that maybe slightly troubled period, or heading into that troubled period. There was nowhere near the kind of the breadth of support I think there is now. I think this, for maybe the last 10 or so years, there's definitely a curve up in terms of what people can achieve as for a career, but the kind of the broader support for people riding at a, say, elite level seems to be pretty good. Whereas back in my day, I managed to get some support at the beginning of one year, but it all fell apart, and then I had to sort out my own kind of deal, which relied heavily on people within the industry to give me, bikes at trade or bits at trade, or various bits like that. So I never really had any proper support other than my own savings and the generous support of my parents. So managed to get to a couple of World Cups, which was a eye-opening experience. Which ones did
you do? I did Sierra Nevada in Spain and Capron in Austria.
And how was that as an experience? So you were full privateer, right?
Yeah, full privateer. It was brilliant. 2 years before that, in '96, I went to the European Championships in Bassano del Grappa in Italy, and that was amazing. Like, as a junior, it was, it was this like amazing race course that they cobbled together in this little town in Italy. And it was going through people's gardens and vineyards, and it was, and
nice.
And practice was all in together. So you could go up the hill, and you'd be like, in these flatbed trucks that were taking you up to the top of the hill, and we managed to, you'd be in a track with like Jürgen Benicki or Tommy Misser or whoever, and you'd be like, all right, I'm going to try and follow him down for as long as I can. And just that experience was amazing. It brought on my riding so much, just being able to see, they go a lot faster. Can I go that fast? And it was. And then I hung around with the Irish contingent a lot, which was.
Oh yeah, so it was like Glyn O'Brien,
Richie McGlynn, Paul Gilsonen, John Lawler, and it was fun. And the parties back then were, just amazing. Because Dionysi was the sponsor, and their operations were in Bassano de Grappa, as I remember it. So there was massive support with Philip Parakis running the show, and they had this big truck. And they rolled out this awning, and then these like local old ladies from the village rocked in, and there were sewing machines, and people would bring in their Dionysi kit, because everyone was wearing those full Dionysi like bodysuits, and you could bring it in, and they'd sew up or make modifications or do anything you wanted. So
unreal.
This level of kind of oh wow, look at this amazing setup. Oh, what's inside? Sewing machines. It was amazing.
That's wicked. Why did you step away from it in the end? What led you to kind of quit racing?
I just felt I was chasing points. I was going all over the country. And in '98, I spent a lot of time during the summer traipsing over the country, looking for, like national ranking points, because I didn't want to, I was never like at the peaky end, but I wanted to kind of maintain that elite level status. And it was always a case of like the, top seniors and juniors and a couple of masters would move up, and then the bottom of elite would move down. So I wanted to maintain that, and I did. I think I was like, 15th or 13th or something in the UK. And, I'd spent the whole season doing that, and then come around to 99, I was like, oh, do I want to do another year of that? And I just wasn't enjoying it. And I've always been somebody that if I'm not enjoying something, I'll just cut it. And you know, it doesn't. Who I am isn't dependent on racing, or never was. So I just stopped.
It is now, mate.
Yeah, things I do for friends.
Good stuff. Ben, what about you? Give us a bit of background on your like prior downhill racing experience.
Well, nothing as glamorous as Johnny, I'm afraid. But I probably started racing maybe similar sort of time, early 90s, as a youth junior, doing the NEMS series, the NEMBA series, and then the NAM series, so like Northern area, North of England series. And back in those days, there wasn't like downhill series. You'd go to a race weekend and you'd race cross country, there'd be a downhill, and they'd probably throw in some trials as well if you were lucky. So it was a bit more of an all-round thing. And so then moved on, and then downhill series got established. Like NEMBA would have a downhill day, NAMS would have a downhill day. Raced those, did quite a few meg avalanches. Did a Welsh Dragon in Metabf at one point, I think.
Nice.
But then my downhill career kind of ended around the early 2000s, probably, and moved on to other stuff. Bikes always in my life, but racing definitely stopped for a while.
What kind of level did you get to, Ben? Like, where were your results back then?
So senior men, NAMS, probably. I never got on the podium in a NAMS. Top 10, probably. Top 10 overall in the...
Was that before expert was a category, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe it would have been sports. Not sure. Like senior men, I think. So below, I think it would have been elite, then senior. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And what was your last downhill bike?
Yeah. It was the Kiwi Chromo 8, which was also known as the Gate, the 5-bar Gate, because it was made of steel, and it weighed about 50 pounds. Genuinely,
No way.
People would be like giving you a hand, putting it on an uplift truck, and they'd be like, "Jeez, man, this bike's heavy." But it was an absolute destroyer. I looked it up actually after we'd been talking about it, and it was quite a long slack bike. So it was a little bit ahead of its time actually. Well, I think maybe like 64, 65 head angle, right, depending on what forks went in it. So yeah, it was
pretty modern.
Ahead of its time for like that period. Yeah.
What about you, Johnny? Was it ATX1 your last downhill bike?
I've got 222 actually. After
you've got that orange.
So my last race bike, I guess, was the giant ATX1, and then I kind of quit cold turkey for probably 18 months or so, and then got another bike again, and and then I think it was early 2000s. I nearly got an Intense. So I'd organised to buy Glyn O'Brien's old bike and or frame, and I went across to Ireland, which I kind of did to see some friends and have a bit of a party. Bought it, but it was around when Foot and Mouth was kicking off, and I decided there wasn't much point. So
because you couldn't ride anywhere. Right?
But then a friend of ours was interested in buying it, so I sold it to him. So I nearly had one, and then later, I think it was maybe 2001, 2002, I bought a orange 222.
Have you ever raced that orange?
No, I never raced it. Just because back then, there weren't enduro bikes. It was either cross country or downhill, and we all generally rode downhill. So we'd go somewhere and we'd push up and ride down, be it like Ambergate or Scousers or wherever it was. So you needed a kind of a downhill bike, or you did it on a hardtail or something. So that's what you had. That's what you had back then.
Fair, yeah. My downhill racing is less prestigious than both of you, I think. I think the highlight is the Cheddar MPS in 1998 on a Kona hardtail, where I came 188th, and there were not many more riders than that. And the sad thing is, I looked up how many were in senior men in the same category at Riola this weekend. There was 18.
In senior men?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
unless I misread the results, there was 18, and I was in a field of 188 plus in 1998.
So that was a big race at Cheddar, wasn't it? It was like a bit of a party there.
Yeah, it was always a good get together, that one. And then so that was on a hardtail, and then latterly I got an orange Patriot, which is one of the early ones actually. So it's still the 5-inch one because I couldn't afford a disc brake on the back. Oh no, what was it? You couldn't have, that was it. If you had the 6-inch version, you had to have a disc brake. Otherwise, because a V brake would hit the frame at full compression, and I couldn't afford a disc brake. So I had that. And first time I took it to the Alps was on like single crown forks duties, I think. And eventually I got some secondhand boxes for it. So it was sort of 5-inch rear end boxer fork on the front, bit of a mashup kind of thing. But that was my uni rig, I guess, that got me through those downhill days at Scousers and all those kind of places. So yeah, I think it's fair to say we ride at 3 different levels, I suppose. Johnny at the higher end, like you got that elite background.
We went through some old results, and it turns out that Ben and I were at the same races for a good stretch of time, and we didn't know each other. And he beat me, I beat him, he beat me. So
interesting. I was going to say it's pretty close between you two, like when we ride. Interesting. So how come Ben never made it pro? Lack of commitment.
Visualization.
Lack of visualization. Maybe we could touch on Johnny's approach to a challenge at some point.
Well, yeah, I think we'll talk about that when we get to training, because he definitely knows how to take on a challenge, that is for sure. So yeah, I think 3 slightly different levels. You boys definitely at the front, me holding up the rear. So hopefully there's like a rider that you can kind of look at within this group that kind of is somewhere towards your ability, and there's a good variety between us, I think. So Johnny, you were the first person that I approached about this project when I started thinking, like I was impressed by the reaction to the EWS project and was like, kind of cool for Dano. And I was like, Johnny hasn't got a lot on, likes riding bikes, he's pretty quick, might get some results out of him, feel like he needs something to do. What were your thoughts when I came to you with the idea?
I thought you'd just come to me because of my prestigious podcasting background.
No, 100% not.
I was quite keen. I think it was when was it that you broached it? Was it like August, September last year?
Before that, it was like before World Champ, so it'd probably have been June or something. Okay. It's pretty early.
Okay. So yeah, I was keen. Like, if over the years we've done the odd race here and there, whether it's been Boltby Bash or another kind of enduro type race, or I think I did Steel City. That was last downhill race, and I was like, more than anything, I was really excited at the prospect of if we could get hold of modern day downhill bikes, because we kind of all avidly follow the World Cup and what these guys can do with these bikes, and they look so good and so fast, and our current enduro bikes are far more capable than our old downhill bikes. It's like, wow, how good are they, kind of thing. So I was always keen, always up for a challenge. It kind of up for a good project to get my teeth into, get some fitness back.
Yeah, for sure. And you touched on Steel City there. We should mention that you did show up and win at your only downhill race in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Nothing else to say. Did Steve Pete remember who you were?
I don't think so. It was, we crossed paths quite a bit back in the day, but he's quite an illustrious career and met thousands of people, so there's no reason he'd really remember me.
Yeah. I remember doing track walk with you at that Cheddar MPS in '98. I think we were walking up and Steve was walking down, or vice versa, and we walked past Pete and I was like, oh, there's Steve Pete, and he was like, hello Johnny. And I was like, what? Steve Pete? It's like the coolest thing ever, but now he hasn't got a clue.
Yeah, he'd probably remember my dad more, because I think at those European Championships, my dad got hold of the Irish car pass. So he ended up ferrying people up and down, being the Irish driver, and he just basically put the bikes on the back of the car that we'd hired, and take like 2 or 3 people. So at the end of the day, we're like, oh, have you had a busy day? And he's like, I met Steve P and Rob Warner and Will Longdon.
Awesome. That sounds like your dad. I like it. What about you, Ben? What was your thoughts when I approached you and asked if you fancied this little project?
Yeah, I can't even remember when it was either. It's so long ago now. It's been through so much between then and now.
It's been a lot of getting to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I was dead keen. Get hands on a modern downhill bike, because it's been a while since the Gate. See what they're like. Also, we race, all of us in our group of friends. We'll do 1 or 2 enduro races a year in the last few years. And when that entry goes in, I always think, right, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to do some training. I'm going to get fit and ready. And life gets in the way, and you just turn up at the start line, and you hope that your bike's going to make it to the end and that everything will be okay. So this was a bit of an opportunity to think, right, if I really put some effort in and try and get in shape, prepare, have the right kit, etc., it'd be really interesting to see what I can achieve in the optimum conditions, basically. So
yeah, we'll talk about how close to optimum conditions we are in a bit. But so I had this idea, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure if this will fly, but I'm going to give it a try. So I put together a bit of a pitch deck, thinking it was maybe going to be a bit of a hard sell to brands. It's a tough time, definitely, and it's hard for brands to decide where to spend their marketing dollars. But I took that to World Champs in Leger, and I was blown away by the response. Pretty much everyone I talked to straight away was like, that sounds awesome, we're in, which is great, right? It shows that brands want to get behind this project and support us shining a bit of a light on downhill racing, which is awesome. I think everyone wants downhill to be healthy and to grow and for people to go downhill racing. So that's cool. And as a result, we've got a pretty mind-blowing team lineup of product. It's leaving us with very few excuses, which is the biggest problem. But let's talk about some of the people that are helping us out. I want to start off with one of the sponsors that's maybe a little bit different, and that's Wahoo. They're really actually very into supporting the gravity side of things, which is pretty cool, being a fitness brand. I see what you're doing there, Ben, showing your Element Rival watch. So yeah, they've helped us out in a big way, actually. We've got their Kicker Smart trainers and set up at home. We've got the Element bike computers and the Element Rival watches. We've got logins to the Wahoo system kind of online training platform. We've also got a bit of support alongside that from Ben Plenger at the Strength Factory too. So in theory, we should be pretty fit. Let's find out how that's going. Johnny, you're no stranger to training, although you might have been a stranger to it for the last few years. How have you been getting on? Because you definitely know how to get yourself both in and out of shape pretty well. Yes,
would be you've hit it on the nail on the head. I'm very good at getting out of shape. And, I think it was like March-ish last year, been away with the family skiing, and it was the first time I'd been skiing, and I was like, that's a bit harder work than normal. And then you tapped me up to do this Canyon bike testing, and I admitted, I was like, look, Chris, I'm not in good shape. And you're like, oh well, beggars can't be choosers. Can I, you've got a month. And I was like, okay. So I put a bit of effort in, and then I felt the difference. And then over the summer I kind of got into doing something more regularly, because I'd organised to go away with some of our wider group of friends to Chamonix, and I'd done enough to make a difference. But I was like, I would like to kind of get my teeth into something, and I always do better when I've got something to focus on. And then you'd broached this project, and then come, I think it was November, this box shows up with the Wahoo kicker, the ticker, the bike computer, the watch. And I was like, oh, bloody hell, I'm not sure how much, how keen I am on this.
Yeah, because I think it's fair to say none of us have been massive indoor trainers in the past, right? We've not spent hours on turbos and that kind of stuff.
Back in the day, I had a turbo trainer and had a road bike. And, at uni, training for, I was at uni when I was racing, and I got some help from an uncle who worked down at Loughborough, and he set up I went down for a VO2 max heart rate test, did various other things. He put a training plan together for me, and then on the side of it, during the winter, I'd go out with the road cycling group, and they'd have these triathlon guys that would rock up and tear our legs off. So I think coming into that 98 season, I was pretty fit because I'd done all this stuff, and I'd been in the gym doing weights, which I'd not done before, and all this type of stuff. So, I wasn't new to this type of stuff. And then, over the years, I've dabbled and gone down rabbit holes and played around with a lot of different types of training. So when you broached this, I was like, yeah, I'll be up for this. But then the kicker sat in its box for quite a period of time. And, come Christmas, I was like, well, I'm not going to start now. It's Christmas. And then
I know, I was worried because I saw you at the Santa Cruz test, which was like mid-December, maybe. It's pretty cold, just before Christmas. And I was like, oh man, Johnny's still fat. I was like, I thought he was going to throw himself into this. I thought I was going to get like committed, fast, fit Johnny, and I want some results out of this boy. And then
fat's a bit harsh.
Yeah, well, maybe slightly
carrying
podgy.
Some weight.
Festively plump,
Yeah.
Festively plump. There we go. But yeah, and then literally come 1st of January, it seemed like something changed, and like you just switched on and got into it.
I started, so I was like, I'm going to ease into this. I don't, and I was like, I wanted to kind of like plan and program it myself. And then I think it was Ben said, oh yeah, I've done the 4DP test, which is this built-in Wahoo Fitness test, which takes about an hour. And he's like, oh, it was awful. And then like about a week later, you do it, Chris Hall. And you're like, oh, yeah, I was nearly sick. And then I was like, oh, bugger, I'm going to have to do it now.
It is brutal.
And so I did it, and it was hell. And I was like, oh, man, I am really unfit. And my numbers were the worst of the three of us. I was like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's quite an interesting test, It like characterizes you as a type of rider. You get those 4 different metrics with like FTP, max aerobic power, and a couple of other like your sprint,
neuromuscular for
ability,
sprint,
like
and
max power. That's
aerobic capacity, or anaerobic threshold, I think. Anyway, so
something like that. 4 numbers,
and it gives you a lot of the science behind it. It's not just like do this, it will make you faster. It's like this is why you're doing this, and then once you get that test done, you can go into it, and it will create a different a training plan based on the type of riding you do. Do you want to improve your general fitness or your or one of the categories in the test? And I created some plans. I was like, oh my god, that looks horrendous. Delete. Create another. No, horrendous. Anyway, I dug in, and I was like, I don't want to focus on any one specific thing. I just want to get fitter generally. I'd been doing a lot of my own research, and I wanted to make sure I got lots of kind of like steady state stuff, because there's other kind of like longevity benefits. And as somebody
like the zone 2 kind
in my
of work,
40s, I wanted to definitely tick that box, and work on making it a habit of, say, my weekly activities, as opposed to something I'm just going to be doing for downhill. So I did that, and you can add in a focus, which is mountain biking enduro, which was the closest thing to downhill. So as a skew towards that, as opposed to say like road riding or time trialing or these other things. So I set that up. I put the volume to its minimum, and that's still a lot. So it's about...
That's volume as in hours, right?
Yeah, a minimum. And then on top of that, I do my own kind of like, strength training and functional strength training and actual mountain biking and various things like that. So I've kind of stuck to it pretty much. It's been
you have fair play.
Definitely
every day in the group you make us feel bad by sending us pictures of your workout
I do it to
routine.
make you feel bad and for accountability for me, so it's a win-win.
It's working, mate. How are you feeling?
Good.
Because you like, I rode with you briefly the other week and you looked a lot stronger on the bike.
Good. I just I think it gets to that point as well where I was one of the things now with being older, as opposed to when we last kind of did this, is that I know myself better. So I know what works and what doesn't work. And I know for me, it's not about like how hard I go. It's about doing something continuously, like every day. So be it like lifting something, riding a bike, going for a walk, just kind of like greasing that groove of fitness. So it's made a difference and feeling good. So long may it continue.
Yeah. And you retested fairly recently, didn't you? Or for FTP and Max Aerobic, and you were up like 40 watts on both?
Yeah, it was good. It was definitely, but I was coming from a very low point. So there was a lot of room for improvement, let's put that out there. It's like, wow, your numbers have gone up so much. Yeah, well, couch to semi-reasonable fitness is always going to be a step up.
Fair. Well, you will find out soon, right? Because I'm pretty sure you've got another 4DP test in your schedule.
I just noticed on Monday. So vomit festing coming.
It is a horrible way to spend an hour. It's useful, but it's a painful test.
And the half one, the half Monty, it's just a ramp test with and then a 5-minute sprint at the end to check what they've figured out from the ramp test. And in comparison, that is a walk in the park.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. So, it's not a 5-minute sprint. It's a 20-minute constrained heart rate piece at the end, but it's super easy.
Yeah. And, I'll say like so to kind of sum up what I think, I am very impressed with the Wahoo. And I'm not saying this because they've given it to us. Okay. Because the level of granularity with which you can do things, or which they get you to do, is fantastic. And you could never replicate it on an old-fashioned turbo trainer where you had to wind up the resistance or change the gears. It would be impossible. And then on top of that, the software that they provide gives you a lot of the science and the background. Which appeals to me as the kind of geeky, nerdy person who's quite into some aspects of fitness. It really kind of tick those boxes. And, I've managed to get my wife on it a couple of times. She's quite into it. Don't tell Wahoo. She signs in under my account.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, I've been impressed with it. I like the amount of variety that you get in all the workouts is really good, because there's so much different stuff in their catalog there. And some of them are really good at like adding in other stuff that sort of keeps your mind active as well. Like there's prompts coming up. I did one that had some like mental training built into it, and that was really interesting. Like I was like, oh, whatever, mental training, blah. But it was the routine I was doing that day, and it was really good. So yeah, there's some good stuff in there for sure. And like you say, it's super customizable to what you want to achieve based around, I guess, the science of the tests and stuff. Like it definitely is better when you've done the test, which is painful, but so is all physical testing, I guess. All right, Ben, what about you? I think it's fair to say, without being too nasty, that you're more of a stranger to like training in inverted commas. You're a just ride bikes kind of guy, and probably, 100% definitely the fittest of all three of us as a result of it coming into this.
So I will ride 2-3 times a week, like mountain bike off road 2-3 times a week. And yeah, definitely came in with a decent base, I think, compared to you guys.
You've been consistent, I think, just over a period of many years, right?
Yeah. So since I moved to Sheffield about 7 years ago, that's been my sort of level of like the hours I'll do each week, something along those lines, thereabouts. So yeah, that doesn't really go anywhere when you have a break or anything either. So it sticks with you, that that base. So yeah, I've never really trained. I've dabbled with an odd bit of body weight programs before, but it never stuck, because body weight, go for a ride. I always choose the ride, basically. Had like a fluid trainer set up in the garage. Oh yeah. That's been there for years, and we'll hop on that occasionally if I was desperate for a ride and it was pouring with rain or something like that. I would go on that for half an hour, and my wife would use that too. So the kicker is like just, so many levels above. I think one of the big things for me, and this isn't unique to Wahoo, but is like training to power rather than, I've only ever had a heart rate monitor before, and there's loads of lag in that. You can't do like 5-second effort and measure that against anything. You've got to just use your sort of perceived effort. So having the power readings to train against is amazing. It's like Johnny's been saying, I haven't dabbled with it in the depths that he has, and my approach is a little bit different. I've sort of, my weaknesses I think are sprint power. I can grind away all day because that's what I do through the week, but my sprint power is not great, so I want to work on that. So I've kind of picked out the neuromuscular exercises that Wahoo's suggested. I've got a similar setup to Johnny, but I just pick and choose those that focus on that. I think these programs are kind of designed as a whole, so whether that approach is going to be super effective, I don't know.
Yeah, good question. I don't know. Yeah,
we need an expert to answer that probably. And I'm a puny 10.5 stone weakling as well. I definitely feel like I could go faster if I could just hold on a bit better. So my other focus is like the strength and conditioning on the whole.
Yeah.
So using Ben's Strength Factory Coach program that he set us up with.
Okay, which one are you on? Are you on the over 40s MTB?
No, I'm attempting the DH one, but as you know, it's kind of faltered a little bit recently because I've been ill and out of the game for about a month, basically, which has been frustrating.
Yeah, what's been up with you?
So it started with a cold and then a throat infection, then a sinus infection. I'm not feeling like I could function, but just whenever I tried to do anything, I was exhausted. So I've just finished my course of antibiotics today. So hopefully, come on, back at it. And I went
get on the probiotics.
And I went to the gym yesterday for the first time in a fortnight, probably.
Well, this was a bit of a revelation in that you're not normally a gym goer, right? And I've seen at least 2 photos from the gym in the last 3 months from you. What's going on?
I never thought I'd be saying that in public as well. I mean, so we set up with this program from Ben, and the first month, so there's like a foundation program that you go through before you move on to the DH stuff. And the first month I could do at home with the kit that I had at home, but after that it wasn't feasible. And I was a bit.
What have you got at home, Ben? I have interest.
We've got some kettlebells, dumbbells, a suspension trainer. Like a step, got a bit of a setup. Not much though.
Yeah.
No, I quickly got to like the limit of the weights that we had.
Nothing heavy, basically. Yeah,
it's all the wife's. It's all Claire's, not mine.
Fair enough. Big shout out, just completed the Manchester Marathon in sub 4 hours.
Yeah, very proud of it.
Quite incredible.
An impressive achievement. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I reached the limit of that, and it was sort of right. And I was doing it at home, and I was like, it's okay when you do it at home because you'd have to go trek out to the gym and stuff, and you can fit it in here and there. And I bit the bullet and joined the gym, and it's way better doing it at the gym because you set aside that time, you go off. It's a bit of time to yourself as well, which is always great. And you focused on it when you're doing it. There's no one like coming in and saying, oh, can you just do this? Can you just do that? There's no like rushing so you can like get the kids sorted out for bed and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that and hopefully seeing some results from it. The early stages were good. It was nice. Like I was like doing a session and going, wow, I didn't realize that I had muscles in that part of my body that are now a little bit sore.
And I'm excited to see where you go with that. Because like you say, you've not done a huge amount of strength training in the past. Like you're at the bottom of that curve in the same way that Johnny was at the bottom of the sort of aerobic fitness curve, maybe. Like it'd be interesting to see how far you can move like between now and the first race, but also towards the end of the season as well.
Yeah, so it is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Illness struck me as well. I had 4 colds and the flu in March, so lost pretty much the whole month. I snuck in the odd day of training here and there between bits and pieces, but I think one thing something I did last year was like didn't want to pause. Because I was panicking about EWS. Like every time I got sick from anything, I tried to sort of, as much as I could, train through it. And I think that was the worst approach possible. So actually, like, even though I didn't train all of last month, really, I haven't lost anything. Like was straight back to like deadlift personal bests this week. Like I feel good. Like as soon as that fog lifted of all the colds and all the crap, like I feel like I'm where I left off. So I guess that's been a good lesson to like not panic about it and just let the body take the rest that it needs and let the body recover. So yeah, I'm finally feeling back on it, but I've said that before and then I've got a cold like the next day. So fingers very much crossed that we can keep this one going, because I feel like I'm rapidly running out of time for the first race. Let's talk about bikes. We've got this far. We haven't really talked about the bikes. I've chatted to quite a few people who spend a lot of time trackside at World Cups and know what they're on about. And a large proportion of them have said the Canyon Sender is the best of the bunch in their opinion. And we've got them, which is pretty awesome. Not only have we got the Senders, but the build kit is pretty insane too. And we got a host of products that took up plenty of podium spaces over the years and have even taken some world championships. So we've got suspension from Fox, we've got tyres from Maxxis, we've got Magura brakes. On top of that, when We Are One launched their new convergence wheels, I was super keen to get those for us as well. So they've delivered some very special wheels for us too. We can't say a huge amount about the bikes at this point in time. We've not spent loads of time on them because it's taken a while to get everything here in the UK and get the bikes built up. But yeah, Ben, first impressions of the Sender with all that kit on it. Well, hang on, let's wind back a bit. You boys came here to my house to pick up the bikes and the kit, and we went and did a pre-season photo shoot for all the images for this project to kind of kick it off. And it was a bit like Christmas for you two, eh?
Yeah, we sort of arrived at your house at pretty late on one.
It's like 10:30,
like a Monday night or something, and we'd sort of both driven for about 3 or 4 hours. We were knackered. We kind of turned up, and your garage door was open with these three pristine downhill bikes kind of lined up. We had a bit of a gander at those, and then we were invited indoors to our rooms for the evening, where waiting for us in our room there was one humongous box that I think I probably could have got in and posted myself home in, and which was full of Fox kit basically. And you know, I don't know about you, Johnny, but I have achieved a life goal of having a race jersey with my name on the back, 100%. Which is something I've never done before. Yeah. So
did you never have your name on your kit, Johnny, back in the day?
No. My son is very jealous of me.
He can have it after the season's done, right?
Yeah.
Happy days. And well, first impression of riding the bike then, Ben, because we obviously got a little bit of time on them at the photo shoot. First time on a modern downhill bike. Yeah. How was that?
I think and I'm sure Johnny would agree, that it enticed us to overreach slightly.
Yeah, there was that comment, referred to the comment of, I would do that feature if I had a downhill bike, and that excuse no longer flies. Right?
But we didn't need an excuse either, you know, it was like an open invitation. We're kind of like pushing up to the top from where the uplift had dropped us at Kersus, where we were very kindly welcome for the day. And
shout out to Matt Simmons for letting us use the bike park. Awesome spot as well, some quality trails there.
And there's a kind of like a road crossing jump step down thing, and Johnny and I both had a look at that, and we were like, whoa, I mean, that looks far, but I'll be fine on these bikes. Off to the top we went, and we both kept case it like there was no tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we left various bits of our bikes bodies on there.
So you managed to bend the bash guard, and Johnny managed to pretty much nearly bend himself, but smash the saddle all the way forward on the rails somehow, even though it was done up tight. I've never seen anyone do that, Johnny.
Abs of steel now from all the training.
That's the one. But yeah, it was a fun first day on the bikes, eh?
It was.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I think we were like, oh, can we just get these photos out of the way so that we can ride a bit more?
Yeah, pretty special bits of kit. It's kind of ruined other bikes for me. Like, they're so good. And we always said, like, oh, you know, these modern enduro bikes are so good. It's like having a downhill bike, but you can pedal it. But we're basing this on downhill bikes that we might have ridden like 15 plus years ago. And we've forgotten how good downhill bikes have got, I think. Like, that was the first thing that caught me. Like, the capability they have to go ludicrously fast over the roughest stuff and just deal with it is pretty mind-blowing.
I think they've become even more of a specialized tool in a way. Like back in the day, we used to hack our downhill bikes down like proper slow, techie, tricky stuff as well. And these bikes will get through that fine. But I think it feels like at this point anyway, to get the most out of it, you want to be, or it's a bike that just wants to go like Mach 10 basically.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Go fast,
wants to go fast. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much that you need to, it feels you need to slow down for, which is kind of intimidating. How did you find it, Johnny? You obviously like a bit of speed, but how did you find the sender when you got on it?
Yeah, amazing. So we managed to sneak in a day at Antistiniog just before Easter. So I was up
riding with the kids.
Riding with the kids who ride a lot faster than they used to, so we can actually take them to bike parks. And it was a super chill day. We just playing around on the bikes, and it was quite obvious that I had to change how I rode because I think even given how capable our bikes are these days, you'd always be looking for the smoother line or to go here, or what would smooth the trail out. Whereas towards the end of the day, I was like, I just want the fastest line. Like, I don't really care what's in the way. And we found this bit at the end, and it was down this steep chute, and on a enduro bike I'd have kind of like nimbled my way down this, and I was just like, I don't care, this is the quickest line around the corner, so that's the way I'm going to go. Oh, there's a big old drop in there, I don't really care. And all at the top we were jumping into braking bumps just to see what the bike would do. So it was eye-opening. So I'm looking forward to spending more time on the bike and just see. And I think, to be honest, the first race we do will probably be the most time we spend on the bike, given that we'll get a full day of practice.
Yeah, true.
And then 2 race runs. So I think that weekend will probably be amazingly fun. Like, going fast, riding with you two. It's kind of why I signed up for this. So pretty excited.
It should be good, man. It should be good. There's a couple of other brands we should mention who've stepped in with some products for the bikes as well. Crank Brothers have helped us out with pedals. So we got the Stamp 7 in both the large and the small, as well as the Mallet DH clip options for us all to try before the racing kicks off. Pick our favourites. So we talk more about that in future episodes. And then ODI have hooked us up with number boards. That was my personal choice. I think they're the best ones out there. I think they look super slick on the bikes and going to make our bikes look even more pro for the racing. They've also helped out with grips. I've been trying the Elite family of grips, the Elite Pro, Elite Flow, and Elite Motion. I think the core in them is the same, which is kind of offset as well, so you get more rubber under the palm, which is pretty smart. Makes a lot of sense. And then as you work up from Motion Flow Pro, you get more like padding and more thickness to the grip, I guess. And I'm loving the Pro at the moment. I rode it on Nico's bike when I was out in the US last year, and I was like, oh, I quite like this. It's thicker than the grip I'd normally use. I think that's where I'm going to end up, but I'm going to I'm still going to do a bit more testing on those. Ben, you chose the AG1, like the Aaron Gwynn custom grip from them. What was the thinking behind that? It's super thin, right?
Yeah, I've got I like thin grips. My go-to would be a thin death grip, so this was like pretty close to that. Not had much chance to use it yet, but all good so far. And if it works for Gwyn, might work for me.
Yeah, but he's made an AG2, so what does that tell you? Yeah, it'd be interesting. I would have been a thin grip guy up until now, but like something about the Elite Pro at that thickness with the more padding, I feel like on the longer downhill runs I'm getting less beat up. Still to be proven. I've got a bit back to back to do, but I think I'm getting less arm pump and less fatigue on the bigger grips. But we'll see. Johnny, you've gone completely rogue on us here. Tell us about your random choices. You had no interest in having some grips thrown at you.
I can only apologise. I was I quite often keen to try something different and something new, and I'd been following Mr. Aston, one of your other guests, and he'd harped on about this company called SQ Lab, and they do bars with a quite a significant sweep on them, and these grips, which were not something I would normally buy, which were kind of like slightly ergonomic, which I was like, you know what, they look weird. I'll give them a go. Let's just see. And I was keen on the bars because I've always struggled to find bars with enough sweep. And they do bars that are 12 degree sweep as opposed to, say, others which can be like 4 to 6. And I find that they're much better on the elbows. So I got them for my enduro bike, which is a Canyon Spectral. Just shout that out there.
After our Canyon testing from a year or so ago,
you got
carried away and got yourself one.
That I said was the best.
Yeah.
The mullet.
Yeah.
So I got the bars, got these grips, and they take a little bit to get them in the right position because of the profile. I can only describe it. It's like holding onto a climbing grip. It's like you climbing wall, and you come across those grips and it's like, oh my god, thank God I've found this one, as opposed to some like pinchy thing. And so I put them on the bike. I was like, I kind of like them. And then when I went out to the Alps with our group of friends, I had zero arm pump, no issues. Normally by the end of a trip, I start getting, tight forearms. I had nothing, it was so easy. My thumbs were kind of like dangling and loose. And I was like, so I harped on about them a lot and, had the mickey taken out of me for wearing, some old person's grips. But so, I've stuck with those and I'm trying the downhill version of them at the moment. Credit to Mr.
We're
Aston.
old people now, so it's all right to have old people grips.
Exactly. They're in my kind of category now, so.
Good stuff. We'll see how you get on those in the season. I wanted to talk about the kit. It was a bit of a childhood dream to get Fox Racing on board as a clothing and protection sponsor. And it was a super surreal experience. I remember having an email with the guy from Fox who was apologising for a delay in getting our kit printed because they were too busy doing the kit for all of the Supercross riders, which just seems ridiculous that the same people are putting our names on the jersey as are doing all the top Supercross riders. You guys were pretty giddy unpacking those boxes. There was a lot of trying on at like 11:30.
It was like Christmas. And there was just, every time I went back to the box, there was just more. It was like, I've got socks. I've got socks.
Yeah, you were most excited about the socks, which seemed kind of odd.
Really. I was like, jersey with my name on, whatever. I've got some merino socks.
Give me the socks. Yeah. The waterproofs were super. They're pretty nice. Yeah. We've been very lucky, and they've sent us like the top of the range ones. So you boys, you didn't want to get them dirty. You didn't want to ride in them when we went to the
put them on, and then we took them off again.
Yeah,
too nice.
Even though it was raining. Yeah, I've been impressed with the shoes. To be fair, which is it's new to the product range for Fox, but their flat pedal shoe is a really nice bit of kit. I think I've ridden quite a lot on the trail bike in them, and a little bit on the downhill bike. I've been super impressed. Like, for me, I was using the Crank Brothers. I really like the fact that I can move my feet a bit on the pedals. I'm not locked in like on a 510, but the Fox seems to take the grip up even further, but you can still reposition. Like they've got more grip than the Crank Brothers, I think. So I'm impressed. I'm excited to ride those. Like when we rode at Stiniog the other day, I didn't have any point where I was going into a section with any thought about what my feet were going to do. And we were hitting some pretty rough stuff, I'd say, at fair pace.
Getting carried away. Standard practice.
So, we did get a bit carried away. Yeah. Oh, and they've sent us the new gymwear stuff, of which a few of us have got the tops on now. That's super nice. I don't know if you can get it in the UK yet, but it's
even better.
It's good stuff. Yeah. Let's talk a bit about the photo shoot. Ben, was that the first time you've done a photo shoot?
Yeah.
How was your first photo shoot experience? I think you likened it to being on Jim Will Fix It, which is maybe not the coolest thing these days after what came out afterwards. But.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. So, yeah, it's like dream day, really. Here's a box of kit. Here's a new bike. Private bike park closed for the day. Personal uplift, thanks Tim, and a professional photographer taking photos of you. And
if only the weather had behaved.
Yeah, it could have been worse, but it could have been.
We got lucky. It was horrific when we got there. I thought we were in for a tough day, but we managed to get a few little breaks from the rain. It was fun though.
It was a lot of fun having like the product shots taken at the start and stuff. That was loads of fun. And then everyone goes, "Oh, it's a nightmare having your photo taken because it's constantly like, can you just ride around there once more? Can you just push back up once more?" But Sadie was easy on us, so it was still a lot of fun, and we got a good few sessions down a number of the trails there, which were amazing, even in the pouring rain.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. I've never been before. Have either of you raced there back in the day at Kersus?
Nah.
It's a good one, eh? Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes for Matt, because he's definitely doing some more uplift days and stuff there now. So cool little spot. Yeah. So thanks to Matt, we chucked a little bit of money in his fundraiser crowdfunding to improve the trails and stuff there to say thank you. So yeah, appreciate that. That was pretty awesome. So yeah, we've got the first round not that far away now as we sit and record this, a few weeks away. It's at Rhydyfelin. I don't know a huge amount about. I've seen little bits of it on videos and bits and pieces from the past. It's also the same venue as National Champ, so that's kind of nice. We get a bit of pre-practice, I guess, for that. Well, what do we do between now and then? Like maybe Johnny, we'll start with you. What are your plans between now and the first race? Because it's definitely getting close. Peaking. How are you going to peak?
Well, I was going to see what this 4DP test does on Monday, but I'll probably have a rest after that. But
you actually going to do it?
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Good.
It's in the calendar.
You need a week off after it, I reckon. Does it give you time off in the calendar that it plans for you?
Don't know, but I'm going mountain biking the next day, so
what?
That'll be all right. It'll be fine.
Push it back a day or two, maybe.
No, it'll be all right. So between now and then, so I just carrying on the same. I don't want to change too much, really. I'm more interested to see, keep it steady away, see how we go in the first race, and then make a plan for what to do in July and then in September, and make some progress from there. Because we've not raced for ages, so I'm sure there'll be some elements that we kind of want to tackle and figure out. So for me, it's about figuring out a process and refining that process. So at the moment, it's just been about fitness and strength and that type of stuff. But just a bit of that, really. So maybe sort the bike out a little bit.
Fair play. What when you say process, what sort of thing are you talking about? Like a race week process, or?
Yeah, I think there's many kind of parts to a process. You can, there's the longer term aspects in terms of training. There's the how you prepare the bike, and then there's the riding that you do. So between now and I'm going to get out on the mountain bike more, which I haven't been doing too much because it's been raining every single day.
Yes,
and I have been out, but it's been wet every single time. So to actually ride in the dry might be quite amusing. And And then, you know, for the race itself, it's just about, you know, going to a downhill race and, you know, you got to sign on, you've got to go for practice, and how long do we get for practice, and what's the uplift like? And, you know, back in the day, we were pushing up at downhill races at the very beginning, and then, you know, uplifts kind of came into it. But, you know, what does that look like? And, you know, how does a race weekend go these days? So I'm just curious to find out how all that goes, and then, you know, adjust for the coming races, really.
Cool. Any plans for bike setup stuff? Will you have much time?
I'm booked in with Mr. Simpson next week.
Cool. RSR Bike Works.
So I contacted him because he was obviously on your podcast, and he's in the same kind of region as me down south. Because there's so many things to adjust on this bike. It's a bit of a minefield. There's, you know, you've got the 4 settings on the forks plus air pressure. We've got coil shocks on the back with the 4 settings. The bike's got, not that I'm going to touch them, but I can change like the reach or the wheel, make it linear or more progressive, the shock, with settings on the bike and the wheelbase. It's a minefield. So, you know,
it's a lot of levers to pull.
Whacking it all into a computer and doing some sort of optimization, which is beyond me. It's far better for me to go and see Rich and get some sort of base setting, and then I can share the settings with you guys as well, and you can just subtract off the massive weight that I have and adjust accordingly.
We're pretty close though now, I think, eh? Like, you've lost a fair chunk of weight and I put it on.
Yeah, I lost a bit, and then I've been keeping it steady because I don't want that much of an advantage over you guys. So I've been kind of like being, you know, quite heavy on the food, just, you know, to kind of keep that handicap. Anyway, you've been eating more, Chris Orr, actually, haven't you? That's probably why you've been feeling better. I have been eating more, being ill.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, so so Jamie came on the podcast this sort of time last year, coming into EWS, is a nutritionist. So yeah, I've just was guessing, I guess, at my nutrition and being like knowing enough to be dangerous and not knowing enough to actually work out the answers. So I spent a bit of money with Jamie before Christmas, and he gave me a bit of advice. The main thing we've done is just increase protein intake, also increase carb intake a bit, but a lot more protein. And it's made a big difference, actually. So I've put on weight, but in muscle mass, because I just feel like I've got loads more energy. Like, in multiple ways, like I feel better going into the gym. I feel like I can train harder. And I feel like cognitively more awake as well, I would say. Like, I don't get so much like lulls. Like, I used to get to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and feel like I was falling asleep at my desk. And I don't get that now. So that's been good. And carrying a bit more weight and muscle is definitely a good thing. I think it's pretty healthy. So I'm happy with that. And then Ben, you've got a spring to change on your bike, right? Because you told me you weighed 6 kilos more than you actually do when I ordered the springs.
I think I lost a bit of weight. Yeah. So, I hadn't had much chance to ride the bike anyway, but it's definitely oversprung. So, thanks, Paul at Canyon, who's helped us out, sorting out a new spring. So looking forward to getting that on. In terms of the bike, I'll just be trying to dial in the suspension. Start by getting the right amount of travel to start with, and then move on from there. I'm dabbling with the idea, and many of your listeners will probably call this treason or sacrilege or something. I'm dabbling with the idea of putting a dropper and a big cassette on so that I can actually get out and use the bike.
Yeah, we did talk about this bit before the bikes arrived, because you've got Warncliffe like relatively close, but you'd be able to get a lot more done if you can actually pedal the bike.
I'm not really that keen on pushing bikes up hills when you could potentially pedal these days. So I need to investigate.
Is it doable? Can you fit it all on with a short? Will it work with a short cage mech? I don't think it will.
You'd have to swap the mech and the shifter, because it's only a 7-speed short.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a faff. You'd have to do it a few times through the season, so I'm not sure.
Will it happen?
I don't know.
Not. It's a nice idea.
I might lash it up and see what it's like, and take it from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like to get a bit more comfortable with the bike and ride it around a bit. And not that I'm going to be taking it out from the house or anything, but just that being able to get up to the top of the hills or from the car park to the downhills would suit things a bit better around my locality.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're based in Sheffield, Johnny, you're based in the southeast. And I guess that is a bit of a challenge, right? Both of you are a relatively long distance from any like uplifts. Although Bike Park Wales not too far for you, Johnny, and Ben, you're not so far from the Welsh stuff.
Yeah, still. I think Hampsterley's probably my nearest.
Okay, is that like an hour and 40 or something?
Yeah, it's 2 hours-ish. Yeah, still a fair. It's a big day out, basically, but...
Yeah, I'm a bit luckier in that respect, I guess. Like North Wales now, I've got a few uplift spots within an hour, which is pretty good. And my bike arrived a little bit earlier than you guys, so I did have a one day at Dovey in the drizzle before the photo shoot to kind of get settled in. And as it happened,
and with a professional mechanic telling you what to do to your suspension.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say it was quite convenient. Jake from Mondraker was there, or Jake from Sprung Suspension. He works for Mondraker as a race engineer. Just happened to be riding with us on his day off, so I pestered him with how my bike felt, and he was very kind and offered some advice. So, yeah, we did make a few little tweaks there. I made a couple of additional tweaks to the fork. I've gone a bit softer just to get a little bit more a full range of travel, which we definitely found the bottom of at Stiniog, landing quite heavily into some braking bumps. And yeah, just sped it up a little bit with the lower pressures in. What else? I think I'm gonna try the longer rear end. So the bikes came in, so they have 3 positions for the reach, and they came in the middle position, and then 2 positions on rear end length, and they came in the shorter position. I'm gonna try the longer because on paper, I think it should be a more balanced feel, like front to rear grip should be more balanced. That's going to mess with your head, Johnny, isn't it?
Keep me up at night.
So I'm going to try that and see how I get on with it. But otherwise, I just want to get it. Yeah, like I've got pedals to decide on, grips to decide on. But otherwise, just trying to keep it pretty simple before the first race. I don't want to be turning up on a bike that has been changed every time I've ridden it and gets changed every run throughout practice as well. So try and just get used to the thing, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Good. How are we feeling about going downhill racing then, boys? Ben, start with you.
I'm pretty scared of national champs.
Yeah, same.
I'm looking forward to Pierce. I think Pierce will be... I've heard loads of good things about that series.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty low key. I think you get 2 runs as well. Is that right?
2 race runs. I believe so. It has been up to now anyway. Yeah.
So I think I was having a chat with a riding mate the other day, and I was talking about why I like enduro. And one of the things I like about enduro is you've got, like, if you mess up one run, well, there's time to make mistakes, but also you got your other stages that you can still nail too. So the idea of 2-time runs is quite appealing. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Why are you scared of nationals? What's different? Because it's the same venue, right?
Well, the field.
Yeah, so it's other riders.
Other riders, I guess. Yeah, top. Well, I mean, national champs isn't like national champs was back in the day. I guess it doesn't always get everyone there. I don't know how it fits in the calendar like the World Cup calendar, whether there's a nice...
Will Longdon is definitely signed up into our category, and I think if Steve Pete races, he'll be in our category, so that's good.
It's not so much those that we're racing against. I guess it's being on track with or being racing alongside the best in the sport, like elite level racers. Yeah. That's quite intimidating. from my point of view.
I would fully agree with that. Johnny, how about you?
I'm looking to leverage my friendship with you and rock up to these guys and be like, hi, I'm Johnny. You might recognize me from such podcasts as Downtime Goes Downhill. Can I follow you down the track, please?
So you're just going to hop on the back tyre of someone quick and go from there? Yeah. It's worked in the past. Do you reckon you could cling on to an elite level downhill these days?
At least I can try for a couple of corners.
We can make that happen for you, mate. I'll find someone for you to follow.
It'll be good fun.
All right. It will be good. Yeah. What are your aims then, Johnny? Race one, what are your aims? You talked about getting a process kind of sorted, but have you got like high level goals or aims for this first one?
No, and none of them actually. I've got aims for the process because that's what's fun. You know, we were talking, you know, about kind of why this project should be fun for each of us. And for me, you know, I like getting into the weeds of things, and you know, where I am in my life now, I like to go down rabbit holes and figure out the process and research something and then try and implement it. So that's the fun aspect for me. It's the, you know, and the race is the like the measurement of what your process is like, and it happens to be a fun weekend away racing, and you get to go really, really fast, which I really like doing, and you know, the result come what may. You know, it's I always think you know, when we go out riding, sometimes you have the pace, and other times the pace has you. And if you have the pace, then you get a good result. But if the pace has you, then you come where you come. So, and you can't really control that. That's you know, that's based on others. But what can you control is what you do. So, go have some fun, try and ride as fast as I can. Come away from the weekend safe. Touch wood. Happy days.
Good. Sounds like we have quite similar goals, but I think you're better at actually achieving them. So I'm like naturally scared to go racing. I'm always scared, and I've got better over the years of taking it like way less seriously. But yeah, my goals for this is to come away healthy and have an awesome weekend on the bikes, and hopefully like meet some other people. Like there's a scene around these races, right, that hopefully we're going to meet a load of other awesome people that like riding bikes fast downhill. So that's never a bad day out, is it? So I'm super excited for that. The challenge for me is maintaining that mindset and not getting into the like worrying about who's behind me and whether I'm holding them up, and like worrying about certain features on the track or whether I can hit certain things, or, you know, to an extent, I guess, how I'm perceived, like, oh, I'm not riding that feature, like that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter to me what other people think about that. But even at 44, I still sometimes get dragged into that one. So yeah, for me, I think it's a mindset thing. Like, I think I've got a lot of work to do and have been doing a lot of work on that like side of things, and just trying to keep it fun and keep it light. And I think you boys will help, or what you'll wind me up.
Definitely. I'd like to help as well, because you know, I think I've got some of those things quite well sorted. So if I can pass on some tips or something, then more, you know, want to help out as much as I can.
Cool. Yeah, maybe we should talk about that like mindset stuff at some point in a future episode. Worth saying, actually, if there's certain aspects of the racing, the process, the setup, the bikes that people want to hear about, then like get in touch, send us a message on Instagram, send me an email, chris@downtimepodcast.com. We'll tackle whatever, like if there's stuff that people want to hear. Otherwise, we'll just chat about whatever we feel like chatting about. But yeah, if there's certain aspects of it you want to hear about, let us know. Ben, any goals, aims for you? Like, how you feeling in that respect?
For the first race?
Yeah.
Just feel it out, really. A little bit like, I guess what Johnny said, I haven't done a downhill race weekend for a while, and I'd like to go and feel comfortable and not get stressed about where my 16th pair of Fox gloves that I need to wear on this run is located. Just being organised, getting the light basics right. You know, when to eat, having stuff to eat, what to eat, drinking, etc. Getting familiar with how the weekend works, and just having fun, really. Like you say, it'd be nice to go somewhere different and meet some new people who are into what we're into.
Yeah.
It hadn't really occurred to me till this point, but I guess we'll be walking around with our names on our backs, which will be a bit like, I don't know, I quite like to be low key.
Yeah, same.
So that might be an interesting thing to deal with.
Yeah, we'll definitely be quite visible. But that's a good thing, right? Hopefully people will
Party
be like stoked
train
on this
down
project.
Reedy Felon.
Yeah, definitely.
Race train. Well, and I know it's not about the result, but there is a set of Fox goggles on offer for the fastest out of the three of us after the weekend. So
we don't even know how fast to go, to be fair, though, as well. You know, we might rock up and everyone's just so fast because they do this kind of like every weekend. So
yeah, true. What we think is relatively quick might be a million miles away from where the racing's at these days. Yeah, very true. Like, it'd be really interesting to see. Certainly, as you know, both of you guys would have been at the sharp end of it 20 odd years ago. Like, be interesting to see where someone like Will Longdon has moved that needle to now.
Fair bit forwards.
But the bikes are a big part of that, right? And we've got the bikes now, so
we've got no excuses.
Yeah, we have got no excuses. Everything's pretty sweet. Yeah. Although I did build the bike, so that is potentially one excuse, but they've not killed anyone yet.
Rear brake.
Yeah, same here.
I know, it's because I cut the hose down and didn't re-bleed them, so you just do a quick little lever bleed, nice and easy.
Can't get the staff.
Awesome. Right, we should wrap up there. The next episode will be before the first race of the season. We'll talk a little bit about our training preparation, bike setup, how we're feeling coming into that first race. So yeah, that'll be out in a few weeks' time, but hopefully people are stoked on the project. Hopefully people want to follow and see how we get on. But yeah, thanks boys. I'm super excited to be doing this season with you and looking forward to going racing in a few weeks' time.
Wicked.
Cheers, Chris. Looking forward to it too.